Hi Sherlock Holmes and Jeremy Brett fans. I just thought I'd show you, as yesterday, if I'm not very much mistaken, was the 30th anniversary of the first showing in the UK of the Granada Jeremy Brett brilliant Sherlock Holmes, definitive Sherlock Holmes series. And these are my recordings that I made back in when I was at the tender age of 24. And this is the box that I put them in. I always labelled my stuff then on VHS tape. There you can see, and it says The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, A Scandal in Bohemia, ITV, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 2404 of 1984, and the day was a Tuesday, if I've read it correctly. So that's how I used to label the tapes. I could find them. I've got quite a collection of television programmes, and that's the VHS tape with the cuttings from the TV Times, I think it was. I used to buy the TV Times, the two main newspaper publications, television listings publications in those days. In those days, actually, there was nobody else publishing listings because they were copyrighted, apparently, so nobody else could actually do a TV magazine and do listings, so it had to be either the Radio Times or the TV Times. The Radio Times was the BBC's publication, and the TV Times was the independent ITV commercial television thing. And I'm not quite sure if you can read this or not. One of these days I may scan some of these things into through my scanner and put them up as JPEGs, so they can be more easily read. But let's keep it steady there. Having trouble catching that one. There we go. Anyway, that's the. It's just really sort of details, the cast and stuff of the first episodes. What's this one here? This is the solitary cyclist. Condos from the. But the first one was, as Conan Doyle wrote, the Scandal in Bohemia, and believe it or not, the TV company on that evening, I, like millions of others, was sitting down, glued to the television, heart thumping, just waiting for the programme to come on. And somewhere through the first episode, The Scandal in Bohemia, they lost the sound. So I wonder what happened to the person who was running the show that night. But they managed to make such a cock up. But anyway, here's some clippings which sort of covered the. There was Marlowe on as well at the time. There we go. Look, it says, "Why so popular?" It's elementary, my dear Marlowe. And there we are, a lovely picture of Jeremy. And I don't know if you can read this. Let's see if I can just hold it in position for a minute. You can go a little bit closer. There we go. That's the whole page. So this comes from the I think it was the TV Times, which was the commercial channel that showed the programme itself, wasn't the BBC, their publication. And you can see it also refers to Marlowe as well, when it says on the back here. Let's have a look at the magnifying glass. It says, the TV and book cover, Marlowe, always tangling with the dames. In this case, Annie Riordan, Catherine Lee Scott, Wright, and below, the TV and Strand, Watson, Sherlock Holmes, Burke, Jeremy. So you can see it covers both. Marlowe seemed to have got a bigger mention in this publication, which, as I say, coincided with the that week when they showed the very first episode of the wonderful Granada series. Just in case you didn't catch it, we'll do that one again. Just hold it a little bit steady and see if you can. I don't know if you can read it or not. I don't have the greatest of eyesight, I'm afraid, so I'll probably won't be able to read it myself. But anyway, at some point I may, if I ever get the time, I'll try and scan these and put them up in JPEGs, perhaps up on Facebook. And there's more to come. There we go, look. That's another page from that TV Times, I think it was. Yeah, the TV Times. The edition 20th to the 27th of April 1984. picture of Jeremy. There we go. In his archetypal, definitive Sherlock Holmes pose. And I'll read this for you. It says, let's just read, I'll just go through the whole lot and sort of read it if I can. Without doubt, the world's two most famous detectives are Sherlock Holmes and Philip Marlowe. This week, they both come to ITV in lavish new series. Jeremy Brett stars as Holmes, and Powers Boobs plays Chandler's famous gumshoe. Adrian Furness investigates. I need a magnifier for this. Hold on, let's get that steady. David Wicks is a big man with a mop of hair, a wide producer's smile, and a wide producer's smile. The smile has a cigar stuck in the corner and looks real. It should. Wicks is thumbing through figures that show his series. Marlowe, Private Eye, has just been sold to 41 countries. In the US, it has drawn huge ratings, picked up a fistful of awards, and above all, has miffed Hollywood. Wicks is English, and the idea... It's a bit folded here, so let's increase it. The idea of a British TV company making a hit series about Philip Marlowe, American hero, had been greeted at first with amusement and indignation. No one quite threatened me with a concrete overcoat, but yes, they were shocked, says Wicks. They never thought we'd get it right. Some people in this country, continued over page, find it now if I can, don't realise what Marlowe means to Americans. He is one of their great folk heroes. For American actors, to play Marlowe is to play Hamlet. Wicks swivels in his chair to look over Twickenham. The series was shot partly in Santa Monica, California, the original Bay City of Raymond Chandler's stories, and partly here in London suburbia. Now let's see if we can get on to Sherlock Holmes. Let's see if there's a... Well, this video is going to be so long. Right, now, there we go. Let's have a look. Right, in Manchester, Michael Cox is having strangely similar thoughts. As producer of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, he is trying to explain why people still love his brilliant but eccentric hero. It's not just nostalgia, he says. There is something deep inside people that responds to Holmes. He has a genuine sense of natural justice, a sense of honour. People wish that he did exist. They feel somehow that society would be a safer place if he did. Holmes was a difficult person, moody, dark, uncompromising. He lived erratically, yet he is what we would like our leaders to be, someone whom you trust. Will never have feet of clay. It's folded here, I'm having trouble reading it. It is never going to get caught... Sorry, I'll start again. Will never have feet of clay. That's our leaders. It says, will never have feet of clay, is never going to get caught out. Whatever else changed in the world, you feel he would always remain as a fixed point. From Cox's office in Granada Television, it is a stone's throw to the 19th century. A stretch of Baker Street, including 221B, Holmes's rooms, has been built on the back lot next to Coronation Street. It is redolent of clip-clopping growlers, of urchins, fogged, distressed gentlewomen. Somewhere you know a violin is scraping, and that great mind is bending to another problem. In search of authenticity, Cox has gone back to Paget's illustrations that appeared with Conan Doyle's stories in the Strand magazine, and has stayed as near as possible to the original text. Conan Doyle wrote so fast and fluently that there are occasions when things just don't add up, he says. So we have to supply some missing links, but we have not changed the stories in any way. How the crime was committed, the characters, how Holmes reached his conclusions. Get past this crease here. Holmes was described by his friend Dr. Watson as the most perfect reasoning and observing machine the world has seen. His methods were not entirely invented. Conan Doyle had based at least part on Dr. Joseph Bell, a surgeon at Edinburgh University, under whom he had studied. Tall and gaunt, Bell would baffle his students by deducing a whole range of facts about a patient, his job, his background, his circumstances, just by looking at him. But to deduction, Holmes added a vast specialised knowledge. He would distinguish between 120 cigar ashes, 75 perfumes, 42 different impressions left by bicycle tyres. He was way ahead of the police of the time. in certain forensic sciences, in his study of fingerprints, in the analysis of footprints. Continued on page 6, and if I can find page 6 now, let's see, where is it? Let's see if I've got it here. No, I don't think I've got any more of that at the moment, but anyway, that's a bit of the clippings from there. I'll just show you again. There we go, bear with me. And there we go, there. There. Right, what else have we got here? TV guide. That's from the TV time. It's from the front page, I think, of that. It's sort of like second, inside page. Two new dramas start this week, both about celebrated detectives. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, a 7-part series, has Jeremy Brett, far left, as the shrewd Victorian, with David Burke as Dr. Watson. Starts Tuesday at 9 o'clock, ITV. Holmes' modern counterpart, Marlowe, Private Eye, Powers Booth, begins a 5-part series on Friday at 9 o'clock, also on ITV. Right, that's the first little look. I'll probably do another video or two and show you some more clips in a minute. So thanks for watching. Bye for now. Hi Sherlock Holmes and Jeremy Brett fans. Here's another video of another one of my boxes of the original showings of Sherlock Holmes in London by ITV Independent Television. This is the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and I've got all the series, the whole of them actually, on various VHS tapes, but these are the ones I've been able to find for the moment. And this is the second series. It says episodes 5 and 6, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The Red-Headed League, definitely one of my absolute favourite stories, along with The Speckled Band. But anyway, The Red-Headed League, and it was shown on the 22nd of September 1985, on, as I say, in London on Independent Television ITV, the commercial channel. In those days there was only 4 channels, and the timing was 9:45 to 10:45 on a Sunday, 22nd September 1985. So that's how how I labelled the sort of cover for the VHS tape. I always made these boxes out of bits of old cornflake box and stuff, and just to save damaging the actual tape box and give it a bit of protection. And there we are. It's on a BASF tape, which are usually reliable tapes. And there we go. That's a VHS E240, so probably, there we go, chrome oxide video cassette. I lost one of the bits of paper here. Let's see if I can unfold this thing for you. And let's see what we've got here. Oh, this is it also covers the showing of the final problem, but it's a newspaper. Oh look, there we go. This was about the final problem episode, which was also on this tape. It's come off, so let's put that down for a second. And it tells you about Elementary, My Dear Alf. He was the stuntman that played Jeremy Brett's part as Sherlock Holmes when he was going over the Reichenbach Falls. He was a stuntman, and he was quite a renowned stuntman. And see there? It's a bit faded anyway, the picture, so it's not just the light, it's the fading. Anyway, I'll read it for you. It says, in true Sherlockian style, she used my magnifying glass. And just move this up a little bit. And it says, overhanging the top of the 400 feet waterfall, 2 formidable figures grappled in mortal combat before tumbling into the swollen abyss. No, not Holmes and the evil Professor Moriarty, whose heart-stopping plunge forms the climax of the last of ITN's Adventures of Sherlock Holmes tomorrow night. The real heroes of the Reichenbach Falls were stuntman Alf Joint, who doubles for Eric Porter's Moriarty, and his colleague Mark Boyle, who is dressed up as the great detective instead of Jeremy Brett. So it wasn't Alf that played Sherlock, it was Mark Boyle. They were dropped down the precipice on thin steel cables at 30 miles per hour, slightly faster than a parachute descent from a specially built winch on a platform high above. The entire stunt probably cost over £10,000 and promises to be one of the most spectacular in recent TV drama. Alf and Mark, in an all too rare recognition of their skills, get credit on both the program. Let's just fold the crease out here. Both the program and in the TV Times. Alf, 53, is Britain's top highman as he dived off 160 feet into the sea off Malta for the Cadbury's milk tray commercial, in a career that has included being electrocuted by James Bond in Goldfinger. Mark, 40, who is half French and from Wallington, Surrey, doubles for Charles Bronson in the new Death Wish 3. They arranged the stunt on the self-same spot on the Bernese Oberland where Sir Arthur Conan Doyle tried to kill off Holmes in 1893, with engineer Dave Bickers, ex-world motocross champion. The stuntmen were paid around $2,500 each, but as Mark points out, if the wire had snapped, our harnesses slipped, or the platform collapsed, that would have been the end of us. It sounds a glamorous life, but it is a dangerous one too. I was doing a jump for a bridge too far, recalls Alf, when I was knocked off course and fell 33 feet onto cobbles. I collapsed one lung, broke my collarbone and cracked the pelvis. I'm into a crease again. Let's see if I can unfold it and read it. Actually, I'm better at fencing, but if you get a label as a highman, that's what directors hire you for. Each had an Achilles heel. Alf admits to arachnophobia. They're scared of spiders. I know people who've had black widow and bird-eating spiders crawl all over them, but it's the one thing I couldn't do, he says with a shudder. Such was the popular uproar over Holmes' demise that Conan Doyle relented. Granada 2 are now shooting the return of Sherlock Holmes, but with a new Dr. Watson, Edward Hardwicke, the mad teacher of LWT's Drummond's series. David Burke is returning to the Royal Shakespeare Company. And that article was published in the Daily Mail, Saturday, September 28, 1985. Right, now let's see what else we've got. There we go, this is the TV Times. I'm sure it's probably the TV Times article. Yeah, TV Times. There we go. Keep that steady for me for a second. Let's try and move this hand out a little bit. But and I'll read you what's been said here. Fall Guys drop in for a dramatic last act by David James Smith, pictures Peter Bolton. Arthur Conan Doyle wisely took temporary exile in Switzerland when his story The Final Problem was published in the Strand magazine in September 1893. About 20,000 readers cancelled their subscriptions with immediate effect when it appeared. Young men in the city wore black silk arm and hat bands. Women went into mourning. The "You beast" began one of the thousands of angry letters dashed off to Conan Doyle. He was widely accused of murder most foul. The author's grave misdeed was to have sent his detective hero Sherlock Holmes. So I'm going to get this so I can read it. Tumbling over the Reichenbach Falls in the Swiss Alps in the grip of his arch-enemy Moriarty, which goes some way to explaining why Alf Joint and Mark Boyle spent a whole day last autumn dressed in Victorian garb and dangling precariously from lengths of steel cable in the teeth of those terrible falls. Joint doubling for Moriarty and Boyle for Holmes were playing a crucial part in the last episode in the current series of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, which is screened on ITV on Sunday. The Final Problem was being reenacted and only these two experienced stuntmen could take the tumble and survive. Filming at the Falls began with actors Jeremy Brett and Eric Porter playing Holmes and Moriarty, locked in a struggle at the cliff's edge. Then Joint and Boyle took over to make the actual 400-foot drop. For the camera crew, the plunge seemed to take an eternity as the two tiny figures flailed down against the white wall of water. In fact, it was all over in 25 seconds. Joint and Boyle landed on rough ground at the cliff foot, with nothing more serious than an all-over ache. They were greeted as heroes, and rightly so, for when the crew tried dropping a dummy figure, it smashed into the cliff, lost its head and disappeared into the torrent. Blimey. Bored with his hero, Conan Doyle at first resisted all pleadings to resurrect his dead detective. Dr. Watson says in the final problem, any attempt at recovering the bodies was absolutely hopeless, and they are deep down in the dreadful cauldron of swirling water and seething foam, will lie for all time the most dangerous criminal and the foremost champion of the law of their generation. Wrong again, Dr. Watson. 10 years later, Conan Doyle finally bowed to public demand, and in a story called The Empty House, Holmes re-emerged to explain how he had cheated death at the Falls. That publication was 28th September. It was the publication covering that week, 28th September to the 4th of October, 1985, TV Times. And the pictures shown are in the last episode of ITV's The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Jeremy Brett and Eric Porter left battle to the fatal end at the top of the Reichenbach Falls in Switzerland. The dramatic plunge down the cliff, however, was left to experts stuntman Alf Joint and Mark Boyle above right. So let's what have we got here now? I'll show you that picture again. I'm not sure what you can see, but there we go. Try and get into. Seem to move me screen a bit strangely. Hold on. There. Stand up a bit. You've seen these pictures anyway, I know, in the various public books and things about the series. And yeah, that's that page. What else have we got here now? It's a clipping from a paper at the time. So there we go. Basil Rathbone, Nigel Bruce. And I'm just having a look to see what it says here. Well, this is a listing for Sherlock Holmes Faces Death, which was from the paper at the time. They were showing, probably the BBC were showing the Rathbone series, given all the interest there was in Sherlock Holmes at that time. And let's see what else there is there. The Red-Headed League. This comes from the probably the paper at the time. So we'll get that. There we go. That's all that stuff there. And I've got a little clipping here that's kind of interesting. I've got a picture of Jeremy Brett in it. All of the pieces in my hand. It's pick of the day, it says, from a newspaper at the time. And we've got Jeremy Brett there. Let's see if I can just hold it on that corner there, maybe, and you can read it better. Hopefully, if not, I'll read it anyway for you. That's wrong finger. It would be that side, of course, there's a problem, isn't it, holding it? There, pick of the day. I'll read it for you. It says, pick of the day. It's got a picture of, not Jeremy, but it's got a picture of Moriarty, Eric Porter. The current adventures of Sherlock Holmes, ITV 9:45, climax tonight in his famous final encounter with the villainous Professor Moriarty. Their struggle and death plunge, a spectacular sequence, was filmed at the actual Reichenbach Falls in the Swiss Alps. Jeremy Brett and David Burke do their admirable double act I think it says backstage, I can't see. Black Caped Eric Porter, Riot, is suitably, it's faded a bit and the sellotape has made a bit of a mark on here, so suitably the melodramatic Moriarty. And fans of the series needn't worry, Holmes will live to sleuth another day. The further series is now in production. Happy days. That's that particular VHS tape and its contents, and I'll be back for more. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hi fellow Sherlock Holmes and Jeremy Brett fans. This is another one of my boxes with original VHS off-air recordings of the Sherlock Holmes series when it was first shown. This is Brett Hardwick, and it's the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. The box I've got in my hand, because I've just been going through my boxes of VHS tapes, and I've managed to locate these at sort of random selections. And this one is The Three Gables, 0703 of 1984. It was followed by a GMTV discussion of Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, series 0903 of 1994. And other episodes are Dying Detective, 1403 of 94. The Red Circle, which I didn't put a date for, would be and the Cardboard Box. And I'm just having a look to see what I've got here. I've got other things here actually, which yeah, just various things I've recorded that were interesting to me at the time that weren't Sherlock Holmes related. I probably recorded this at long play, it looks like. But anyway, it's on an E95 high standard BASF VHS tape. And let's just unfold some of the clippings and articles I've got in there. I've got quite a good selection for the looks of them. And most interestingly, the first one I come across is coming from the let's see if I've got it. It's by Richard Bruton. It's probably from a I'm not sure what it's from. It could be let's see what it says here. It's from a TV magazine. I can't see which magazine it is. I've not kept that piece. But anyway, where's that magnifier of mine? There we go. It's Critics' Choice by Richard Bruton. The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, the Demented Detective. That's the article. Just show it there. Let's unfold it. I can just keep my fingers out of the way of the... I'm going to hold it. I'll hold it there so you can see the writing. I'm not sure if you can actually read the writing. Given my eyesight, I can't really tell what I'm filming until I have a look at it later. But anyway, I shall read the article so you can actually see it, and it's got well, actually here it's the Demented Detective, the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, ITV, 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock, and a lot of sweeping gestures have been made. Many a wild shout has rent the air since Jeremy Brett's Sherlock Holmes first swept into view. It was a fairly extraordinary characterisation in 1984, and in the new series, a six-parter that began last week with The Three Gables, it reaches a new extremes of extravagant performance, long meaningful glares, much lip-curling, arms outstretched as if summoning up the spirits from another world. When Ed Siegel of the Boston Globe wrote in 1985 that Brett's portrayal lifted the curse of Basil from the English-speaking world, he was putting it mildly. In all the Holmes films he made, including those dire wartime ones, Basil Rathbone never went so recklessly over the top as Brett. Never made the great detective... I'm just trying to read through the sellotape here. The great detective... Oh, right, we'll start again. The great detective's genius seems so akin to madness. It's thoroughly enjoyable. Even the makeup goes too far, and Edward Hardwick is the best Dr. Watson yet. Even better than Nigel Stock, who previously accompanied Brett's... They've got it wrong here, haven't they? They've really made a slight cock up here in their details. Even better than Nigel Stock. Nigel Stock was the BBC Dr. Watson. He was a brilliant Dr. Watson, actually. He was on the radio, did copious amounts of dramatisations on BBC Radio with Carlton Hobbs. And he was also in the two TV dramatisations, the first and the only Sherlock Holmes I think that compares with Jeremy Brett's Granada series was the Douglas Wilmer series, which you can actually buy on Region 1 DVD these days. You have to order it via Amazon from the US. It's quite cheap, and as long as you've got a player in the UK that can play the Region 1s, you're okay. And it's a wonderful series. As I say, it's the only Sherlock Holmes that actually compares with the very favourably, and in some ways I like the pureness of the Wilmer series. Wilmer didn't want to make another series after he made the first set of stories, so they got Peter Cushing in, and I don't find the second series with Peter Cushing nearly as watchable. But once again, Nigel Stock was his trusty Watson, so that's why somehow they've mixed it up. They haven't got their facts right, so let's read on. Even the makeup goes too far, and Edward Hardwicke is the best Dr. Watson yet, even better than Nigel Stock, who previously accompanied Brett Holmes. Now, we know it wasn't Nigel Stock, it was the brilliant David Burke, who actually, I liked, and most people seem to like, better than Edward Hardwicke, because he was a much more dynamic character. It's a pity he didn't carry on and make the whole of the other series, but Burke preferred to do stage work, and I remember reading at the time he didn't want to spend too much time away in Manchester, where the Granada series was made, because he'd be missing his family. So he opted to bow out after the first series, and the brilliant Edward Hardwicke took over. Edward was absolutely brilliant, and he seemed such a nice man in the interviews and stuff. His father had also played one of my favourite radio Sherlock Holmes, is the Speckled Band in the 1940s, Sir Cedric Hardwicke, and but Edward didn't quite have the dynamism of David Burke. But so let's read on and finish off this article. It's only a small one. In this week's adventure, The Dying Detective, adapted by T.R. Bowen, Holmes has to deal with a deadly case of Sumatran river fever, apparently picked up at Rotherhithe in London's Docklands. These are deep waters, Watson. So that's that one there. Let's see what else we can find. Just what we got here now. It's just really it's a sort of tiny photograph really from the. Let's just move over a bit. There we go. I think you can probably read this, and you've got sharp eyes. I couldn't tell because I just don't have that sort of eyesight. This has got the. That picture sort of accompanies the listing in the TV Times for that evening when they showed the programme. And let's see what else we've got here. Other programmes that were on, before Sherlock Holmes. Let's have a look now at the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. I'm just trying to unfold the corner of this page. This has got Susanna Harker in it. As she was in the House of Cards, if you remember, that rather gorgeous girl who was Mattie, who Ian Richardson murdered towards the end of the House of Cards series, wonderful series. And she was Susan Harker was in this episode, the Dying Detective. Let's just see if I can get it there we go. I'm having trouble holding all this in the video, and because they're all sellotaped on, and they're not pull them off because they'll come to pieces. What's the next one here? It is the Master of Logic, Sherlock Holmes, Jeremy Brett, guides his assistant Dr. Watson, Edward Hardwicke, towards more of the elementary clues that solve another mystery. Now, this episode was the Three Gables, and it was before it was World in Action, The Last Resort. Many elderly and mentally ill people are dependent on the private sector of care and are being abused. So it's the story that continues to run, and I know from my mum's own experience how it wasn't very well treated in the health system here. They were running a World in Action programme before. At 9 o'clock, the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, The Three Gables. That was followed by the 10 o'clock news with Trevor MacDonald. And then they showed the Omen. And there's a little brief view of the photograph that came with that entry. Aha! I see. I can see this man's face, Frank Finlay. Just unfold this. So these don't always come from the official TV magazine. Some of these things may have come from various other things, but I was always looking out for anything that had anything to do with the series in. So isn't that Frank Finlay? Brilliant actor. The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, ITV, 9 p.m. An aged professor's young secretary is found dying, clutching a pair of golden pince-nez. In steps, Sherlock Holmes. In steps Sherlock Holmes to solve the mystery of her death, but he has to do the job this time without his trusty assistant Dr. Watson. Instead, Holmes's brother Mycroft is on hand to help him sort out the criminal element. Watch out for Frank Finlay as the chain-smoking Professor Coram above. Frank had given up smoking, but agreed to light up again and again for this part in this story. He also guest starring in tonight's story is Nigel Planer, the brilliant hippie from the Young Ones comedy series in the 80s, in an unusually serious role for him as Inspector Hopkins. There we go. Right, that's that one. Let's see what we've got in there. They're a bit tangled together. I've been unwound since I put them in here, probably some of these things. Let's have a look now. At a quick glance, it says in the paper, and it's got a colourful cartoon of Jeremy Brett as Holmes. Jeremy Brett in another Sherlock Holmes story, Choice. Horizon on How Man Learned to Walk, 8 p.m. So these are the other programmes that are on. Men of the World, David Freefeld in the comedy, and the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes at 9 p.m. And afterwards, Adam Ant guests in Northern Exposure. Right, Adam Ant the pop star. I think I maybe kept two of those because I wouldn't like to throw anything away if I had two copies or anything. And what else have we got here now? Oh, here we go. This is the golden pince-nez. And pince-nez are these funny little Victorian glasses that people used to wear. The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, the golden pince-nez. A man lies dying, clutching in his hand a pair of golden pince-nez. Sherlock only has one clue. The words, "It was she." That was on at, as I say before, World in Action, and followed by the news at 10. London Tonight, Commando, action thriller with Schwarzenegger on that. There we are. Let's see what else I've got here. Oh, there's quite a decent little article with it. I don't know if I can get all these out, this video's going to get so long if I'm not careful, but let's see how we can work our way through it. I've got things sticking together here as well. There we go. Oh, this is lovely. Such a caricature of Jeremy Brett as Holmes, isn't it? Let's see if I can straighten this out for you. I'll read it in a second. So, Sherlock Holmes, and we've got this rather interesting caricature of him. Let's illustrate. There we go. And I'll read it for you. And not sure what paper this comes from. This is probably from the TV Times. But anyway, it says, over the past 10 years, Jeremy Brett has become recognised as the definitive Sherlock Holmes, a role which he returns to for a new 6-part series of 1-hour dramas in the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, Monday ITV. His adventures are seen in 70 countries, and Brett receives some 3,000 letters a week. In France, the Sherlock Holmes Society is lobbying President Mitterrand to present Brett with the Legion d'Honour, which was awarded to Holmes in 1894, and in Britain, Holmes as played by Brett, was the subject of a series of postage stamps last autumn. There we go again, just to remind you of the article. And they show quite interestingly, if anybody knows, remembers Minder. I absolutely love Minder with George Cole, the brilliant George Cole. Arthur's Last Laugh, is that the laugh about him? And what else have we got here now? Excuse me for taking a few moments, but I've got to unwind all this. This is just like the radio. Oh, it's the Radio Times, the BBC TV listings publication. As I say, until the sometime in the I think it was either late 90s or early 2000s, it was illegal for anyone to publish TV listings other than the BBC's official publication, the Radio Times, or ITV's official publication, the TV Times. And I don't know if we can see here. There's where is it now? Jeremy Brett, number 30. It's just a sort of a chapter page, you know, of the or giving you a list of various features in that week's Radio Times of 1994, the 19th to the 25th of March 1994, if I can see that properly. And we've got Sister Wendy there as well. Sister Wendy, the famous art-loving nun, still alive, she is. Lives in a caravan outside a. She lives a monastic life apparently. I need to look in the mirror to see what I'm actually like. There we go. Look at that. Lovely article about Jeremy Brett there. And he's looking in the mirror. Let's see if we can get. Is that in the way? I've got over there without doing some damage if I can. There we go, it's just there we go. I need to look in the mirror to see what I'm actually like. I can't really see what I'm doing because I'm right behind this piece of paper, but yeah, I'll read it for you. In a this really, I need to look in the mirror to see what I'm actually like. After 10 years playing Sherlock Holmes, classical actor Jeremy Brett says he's stepping out of the great detective shadow to find himself again. The article is by Andrew Duncan. The interview is by Andrew Duncan. And I don't know if I can find out what paper it's. Oh, it's from the Radio Times. And it says, his story could be a mystery, comedy, romance or tragedy. It has the dark twists of a Sherlock Holmes novel, although it sometimes sounds like stream of consciousness self-analysis. Jeremy Brett, son, I can't pronounce that word, S-O-I-G-N-E, Swan, is that what's that? Old Etonian, still apparently deep dark-haired at 57. In spite of traumas in his life, walked slowly into the restaurant of the Midland Hotel in Manchester, supported by a stick and a trusted aide called Darling Ian, there to protect him. One assumes from the endearing but occasionally orotund theatricality. Endearing but occasionally orotund theatrically. Let's get this. Hold on, I'm looking at the mess of this. Orotund and orotund theatricality that characterises brilliant actors of his generation. He delves deep into the briefcase for a piece of paper and, putting a finger to his mouth in a gesture of silence, says he would like me to read it before we talk. The typewritten note explains that he had a breakdown in 1986 after the death of his beloved wife, Joni, from cancer, and recently admitted himself to hospital fearing a recurrence. There is, he discloses, a happy ending. With the help of a new girlfriend, 20 years his junior, he has discovered his illness was not mental, as he feared, but an undiagnosed heart condition caused by rheumatic fever in childhood. Let's just unfold this a little bit here, but I don't know if I can read it without pulling this bit out. I'm getting that. I don't think we've got anything else with us. It's kind of sealed together, it might be a bit of sellotape stuck it, but anyway, let's carry on. "Ah, my angel," he greets the waitress. "Darling, I know exactly what I want, just a baked potato with a tiny bit of cheese on top, and first press olive oil." He looks around the once grand hotel, now transmogrified into a holiday inn, and sighs, "My great best friend Robert Stevens, the acclaimed Shakespearean actor, and I went." They put in brackets, "the acclaimed Shakespearean actor and I, when we started our careers, used to press our noses against the window and say, 'One day we'd stay here.' So I'm reliving a dream. It was great, a dusty womb where many wonderful people met, discussed life and found their talents." "Hello, my darling, how old are you?" he says to a second waitress, and he declines bread. "I'm convalescing in public amongst my beloved friends. People from the north are so much nicer than those from the south." Once you've passed the acid test, you've got a toffee-nosed accent. Once you pass, you've got a toffee-nosed accent. Hold on a bit, let's pull it out a bit so make sure we can do that clearly. You've got a toffee-nosed accent, and so have I. He's talking to the interviewer. At first, they thought I was some git come to steal their work, and it took them 2 years to accept me. But once they do, they are so warm. They're the best therapy I could have. Even though I've had to return to work too quickly, I feel I've come home. He has stayed frequently in Manchester during the past 10 years. While filming 12 highly acclaimed Sherlock Holmes mysteries, a new series of which is currently showing on ITV. He says it is the I've moved the line over a bit. He says it is the last. I don't want to play him anymore. He's on the darker side of the moon, and I wasn't told that when I started. I used to have parts like Byron or Browning before suddenly being offered this genius, this animated spider, this brilliance. Becoming him was very painful. He's such a complex character, very isolated and lonely. From being a fairly gregarious person, I developed into a total recluse. It's part I wouldn't recommend. It's a part I wouldn't recommend for anyone I care for, but I've survived him. I'm surprised. My darling friend Robert Stevens, when he made his name in the film The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes in 1970 with Billy Wilder, after his wife Maggie Smith had made hers in the prime of Miss Jean Brodie and darling Peter O'Toole, that damaged angel, became the hottest thing in town after Lawrence of Arabia. But he had his troubles too. Now, but why should acting a particular character bring bad luck? He sighs deeply, draws on a cigarette and explains finally. It's the same kind of thing that happens with the Scottish play. That'd be Macbeth, wouldn't it? I guess it's just one of them parts. It has ruined a great many people's equilibrium. It is an actor. So because of reflection and stuff, and my poor eyes, I'm having a bit of a struggle, but I'll get through it. If as an actor you are, like me, a becomer who tries to become the part, you're a sponge squeezing liquid out of yourself and drawing it in from the part, then to have to face yourself, someone put it so sweetly in The Independent, explaining that I have been playing 9 people. I didn't know that. Sherlock Holmes was a part I never wanted. I had a lovely time playing him. I don't know where the rest of it's gone to. Oh, right. I had a lovely time playing... Oh, you're talking about Dr. Watson alongside Charlton Heston. Poor old Charlton. They are so jealous of his success in Hollywood that anything he does gets slated. What I love about him is he survives. I played Watson and as a soldier's son, very keen and anxious, and more my scene, and I won an award. There is a sardonic sense of humour, a world-weary acceptance of folly and grandeur, an irony that may not be evident in the cold light of print. The son of a military man and Lord Lieutenant of Warwickshire, he says he can remember every detail of Eton. That was his school. It was an academic disaster recently. I've discovered I'm a dyslexic. I wanted to be a jockey more than anything else. I love animals and I have great affinity with them, but I also have a brilliant singing voice. I also had a brilliant singing voice. I was a star accused of histrionic tendencies when I sang. I remember an evening song when a shaft of light came through the window. I'm sorry to say I thought it was for me, and moved into for the Brahms Requiem. Quietly, with a smile, he begins to sing, and they've now therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice. His early career was mostly as a classical actor, working at the National Theatre with the late Lord Olivier. A hero, obviously. He wanted me to play the parts that needed sensitivity and virility, I said. You mean the underwritten ones? I thought he just wanted me for a pretty face. When I balked cheekily and went off to make the film of My Fair Lady, he was furious. Luckily, he forgave me and said, "You better come back," and I was so excited I leapt into his arms and nearly knocked him over. With that background, it was perhaps understandable he was at first reluctant to become Holmes. They wanted a classical actor because of his verbiage. My golden son, my oldest boy, my first marriage, for 5 years, to the actress Anna Massey. He doesn't refer to her in Who's Who, but says now, "We were children, 19 and 23. I wish we'd stayed together long enough to become real friends." She mentions him by real name, Jeremy Huggins. "Please don't mention his name because he wants to make his own way," said Dad. "Do you really want to do this?" I said, "I'll do 6 episodes. The rest is history. It's one of the biggest money spinners Granada has ever had, shown in over 70 countries. It's much more successful throughout the world than it is here. What do they say? A prophet is not without honour, save in his own country." The money hasn't been wonderful either, he claims. In the States, I'd be a multi-millionaire, but I'm lucky if I've got enough to get me through until September, even though I live very humbly. This isn't the nicest business, you know, but there are some sweet things about it. Last year, when I came out of hospital on the 22nd of December, Sally Head, Granada's head of phoned to see if there was anything she could do to help. I was desperate. I rang her back at once and said, "I need a hug." She was there in 10 minutes, hugged me for half an hour, and I cried a little. That's the quality of the woman. You want the truth, don't you? That's it. That is a difficult question to answer. He is so transparently honest that it might be better for his image if he dissembled a bit, but he refuses to do so. I'm just trying to read this for a crease here, so apologies for stumbling. But he refuses to do so. Although others have interceded on his behalf, he chose by unfortunate coincidence to admit himself to the same London clinic as Michael Jackson, and his presence was noticed by the press. One journalist from the Daily Mail, who was supposed to be a friend, phoned and said, "She knew I was there for mental alcoholism. I don't know what that means. I told her I had heart failure, and if she printed anything, I'd slap her face." My darling Ian phoned the newspaper, and they protected me. The truth is that for years I'd been on a permanent high, with no middles or lows. I was called Mr. Joyful, which meant I attracted many desperately unhappy people to love me. I had no anger. He attributes much of his recovery to his girlfriend Linda, who he met when he was running around Britain to raise money for cancer research. "I just won a prize of 3,000, so I gave her that." "What prize?" he pauses, embarrassed. "Pipe Smoker of the Year." Before continuing, she used to drive a hopper bus in Ealing, but bless her heart, she's given it up to help me. When I was desperately ill, I left my body, for an hour, and moved into an astral plane. When I returned, this angel, this pixie, was sitting on the foot of my bed. She began to question every medicine I'd been on. She saved me. A miracle occurred. I remembered I'd had rheumatic fever when I was 16, which left me with an enlarged heart and a weak valve. Just to uncrease this. And it is that, he says, which caused his mood changes, but I had to convince the doctors that took 6 weeks. They put me on more drugs, but mercifully I managed to hide the pills and duck under their net. I had to act to pass an audition for them, but I finally got into the right hospital and realised I had my stomach filled with lithium for 6 days. Oh, sorry, I'll start again. I finally got into the right hospital and I realised I'd had my stomach filled with lithium for 6 years. I was within days of being poisoned. It makes one flew over the cuckoo's nest look like Bambi, except he dies, and the most thrilling thing is I live to tell the tale. I'm afraid so many people are misdiagnosed and in the same boat as me. I don't know what to do about it, yet I refuse to blame anyone. At first I couldn't even say the word. He spells it out, anger, A-N-G-E-R. But I've had to banish all bitterness because it did my heart no good. I don't know why I'm telling you all this, except there is a radiant ending. With will that include marriage? I think I probably am married in heaven. I am reborn. My blood is reoxygenated and my brain revitalised. I'm more well than I've ever been. I'm going to the Cotswolds to sit in front of a fireplace and walk a bit more, and I'd like to spend the summer in Ibiza, or Ibiza, isn't it? In September, I'm meeting my dear Richard Eyre, Artistic Director of the National Theatre, because it's time I picked up my classical career. My first love is theatre, but my passion is filming. But there are possibilities, he hints. He may not want to continue acting. There are certainly more important things to do, and I felt slightly silly on the set the other day. Maybe it's a young person's profession. Perhaps I should use my platform to help those who are said to be mentally disturbed, as I was supposed to be, or those with heart problems. I need to look into the mirror to see what I'm actually like. I haven't taken the henna out of my hair for 10 years. I'm probably a badger under here. Such a man... hold on. Could such a man really give up acting and deprive us all? He smiles and says quietly, "Of course I could. Certainly, sir. Don't bet on it." It says at the end. Next week, the Andrew Duncan interview with Patricia Routledge. That was interesting, wasn't it? Right, I'll terminate this video at this point. It's getting too long. So thanks for watching, and I shall give you a bit more. Right, so here's a final clipping. I think it's probably almost a final clipping from this particular box set of the memoirs of, not box set, my original video VHS recordings of the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes from 1994. And this article comes from Inside TV, it says. I don't know if that's the TV Times, or it doesn't quite say what the article, where it comes from, but it's, there we are, that's the article. See that? Right, and it says, "Elementary, my dear daughter." There's something very familiar about that actress. Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, ITV Monday, and the article reads, "How is it that a humble housemaid can bear such an uncanny resemblance to Dr. Watson? Super sleuth Sherlock Holmes will get to the bottom of it immediately. It's elementary, my dear Watson. You are a real-life father and daughter. For Edward Hardwicke, who has played Dr. Watson to Jeremy Brett's Sherlock Holmes since 1986, is this week joined by his actress daughter, Emma, in the first of a new 6-part series of Holmes mysteries. I've only a small part, playing a maid called Dora," reveals Emma. Dora's mistress is a sweet, frail old lady who is badly beaten by a pair of thugs, and Dora is terrified. Dr. Watson comes to the rescue and chases them off, explains Emma, but he ends up getting hurled through a greenhouse for his troubles. Emma, who trained as a ballet dancer before spending 3 years in the London production of The Phantom of the Opera, is keeping up something of a Hardwicke family tradition. Her grandfather, the celebrated actor Sir Cedric Hardwicke, starred in films such as Tom Brown's School Days 1940 and Around the World in 80 Days in 1956. "I'm very glad she's following in the family footsteps," smiles a proud Edward. "What I saw her do on the Sherlock Holmes set was extremely good. If you can make it as a ballet dancer, acting is relatively easy." Easy or not, Emma was glad her father was there to provide a reassuring face when she recorded her scenes. Our recording schedules didn't overlap that much, but it was nice to know that he wasn't far away. That said, I have hated it. That said, I'd have hated it if he had been watching my every move. The article was by Sue Ricketts, photographs John Dove Granada, and it's got a picture above, like father, like daughter, Emma Hardwick is keeping up the family tradition. There we go. Let's show you a close-up again of, I don't know if we can see this, hopefully you can, I think you can. There we go. Ronald Edward Hardwick recently passed away, didn't they? Brilliant actor. There we are. Holmes and Watson. So that's this is a very short one. I don't think there's any more to show you in this folder. There might be. Let's have a quick flip through. There's a picture again of Frank Finlay with Moriarty, not Moriarty, Mycroft, wasn't it? Charles Gray, wasn't he? He was brilliant. He was my favourite Mycroft. He was brilliant, wasn't he, as Mycroft? And you can see Jeremy there in his very Sherlockian pose. I can't see who that man is at the back. Oh, it's Nigel Planer, isn't it? The detective, playing the detective, isn't it? Nigel Planer, who we know as the long-haired hippie from The Young Ones, the wonderful 1980s anarchic comedy series on BBC. Wonderful series that was. Okay, that's the end for this one. Thanks for watching. Another little look at some of the clippings I found in my original VHS recordings of the original broadcast of the wonderful Granada Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes series. This is the return of Sherlock Holmes, and the tape I've got here is I've labelled it tape 8 of my Sherlock Holmes recordings from the Jeremy Brett series, and it says number 1, The Devil's Foot, which was shown on the 6th of the 4th of 1988. Episode 2 was The Silver Blaze, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock on the 13th of April 1988. And the third episode was Wisteria Lodge, which was also shown on Wednesday between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, 2004 1988. And the Bruce Partington Plans, again ITV, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 2704 of 1988, which was a Wednesday. That's what little boxes I always made up to cover my VHS tapes, which I could easily find out what was on them. And it's another one of these BASF chrome dioxides, and there we go. That's the article. I think you can possibly read that because it's holding steady quite straight for the camera. Let's have a little read of it now. Sherlock Holmes magnifier. The Return of Sherlock Holmes, 9 PM. The Bruce Partington Plans by John Hawksworth. This is the dramatist, wasn't it? John Hawksworth. Jeremy Brett, Edward Hardwick, Charles Gray. A young man is found murdered and brutally beaten on a railway line leading from the underground. Plans of a secret submarine are found in his pocket. Is he a hero or a traitor? Last in the present series. Holmes, Jeremy Brett, Dr. Watson, Edward Hardwick, Mycroft Holmes, Charles Gray, Inspector Bradstreet, Dennis Lill, Colonel Valentine Water, Jonathan Newth, Mrs. Hudson, Rosalie Williams, Sidney Johnson, Geoffrey Belden. Oh, we know Geoffrey Belden from Catweasel. Love Geoffrey Belden and Catweasel, one of my favourite all-time series, along with the Brett Holmes. Station Clerk Robert Fife, John Rapley, Simon Carter, Derek Ware, Hugo Overstein. Derek Ware's a very well-known actor, isn't he? Michael Cox, the executive producer, director John Gorey, producer June Wyndham Davis. Followed by the news at 10. That was that episode. And that's the next bit of paper. Right, there we go. Detecting a good series, it says in this article. Not sure where this came from. Let's see if I can straighten that a bit for you. got a picture of Jeremy. Once again, no idea if you can read this because my eyesight's just not up to seeing on here, but I'll read it for you. Right, detecting a good series. Thanks to ITV's Sherlock Holmes dramas, the return of Sherlock Holmes can be seen on ITV on Wednesday. A new generation of fans has discovered a pipe-smoking, violin-playing sleuth, and enthusiasts of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's detective stories have praised the TV series for its authenticity. The Swedish Academy of Detection, which encourages higher standards of crime literature, recently gave the series a special award for faithfully rendering the text and successfully capturing the period atmosphere and distinctive nature of the classical stories. Jeremy Brett above, who plays Holmes, tried to explain the character's appeal to readers and viewers. He shows you can live your life according to your own code of ethics, and he combines the logical thinking men are supposed to have with the intuition of women. Just a small article there, that's really lovely, wasn't it? That was interesting. Sometimes smaller things are more interesting than bigger things. You get more into a small space than a large one. Let's have a look now. What's this? It's just further clippings, really, like the. Let's see what we got there. The picture of Brett is behind the. Is actually behind this one. It's not part of this article. And I'll read through this. It's Return of Sherlock Holmes, Jeremy Brett, Edward Hardwicke, Freddie Jones, Kirker Markham, Donald Churchill, Wisteria Lodge, dramatised by Jeremy Paul. This is the third in the series of Sherlock Holmes dramas. I can barely read it because the sellotape's damaged the text, but Holmes and Watson enter into one of the most baffling and intriguing cases of their career. A foreign tyrant, an English governess, and an unorthodox police inspector lead them on a wild goose chase, which starts with murder. And you've got Sherlock Holmes as Jeremy Brett, Dr. Watson, Edward Hardwicke, Inspector Baines is played by Freddie Jones, Miss Burnett is Kirker Markham, Scott Eccles is played by Donald Churchill, and Henderson is played by Basil Hoskins, Lucas Trader Falconer, Garcia Arturo Venegas, Luis Guido Adorni, De Milato Sonny Cordinez, Henderson's Abigail Melia, Henderson's daughter that is, Abigail Melia and Lorna Rossi. Designer Tim Wilding, executive producer Michael Cox, director Peter Hammond, producer June Wyndham Davis. Granada television series. Happy days. And what else have we got here now? We've got this next one. And the next one is The Return of Sherlock Holmes, and it's about Silver Blaze. The picture, once again, is not necessarily part of this article, it's just behind the clipping. Now, you can probably read that, I can just about see it. I'll read it anyway. It says, second in the series, four Sherlock Holmes dramas, Silver Blaze, a highly prized racehorse disappears mysteriously on the eve of a big race. The Oracle subtitles, that was a sort of pre-digital subtitling system that lasted for many years. Jeremy Brett, Colonel Ross Peter Barkworth, Inspector Gregory Malcolm Story, Mrs. Hudson Rosalie Williams, Edith Baxter, Amanda Jane Bean, I can't quite read her name but a sellotape. And we're also moving into sellotape territory where I can barely... Silas Brown, Russell Hunter. It's very interesting. Is he was... what was his name now? Smelly or something, wasn't it? From Callan with Edward Hardwicke. I used to love Callan. It was a wonderful series. We've got the whole video set from Network of Callan. Right, here's... there we are, it's that picture of Jeremy. And a little article about him. Let's see if we can move this. Let's get the magnifier out of the way. There's over. Can do a job holding all these bits of paper at one go without doing some damage to them. Not sure if you can read it. I can almost read it. But anyway, I'll read it to you. And it says. It looks like a quiet West Country holiday for actor Jeremy Brett until events force the return of Sherlock Holmes Wednesday ITV. And one more of these episode entries, which is The Devil's Foot. The Devil's Foot. I don't know if you can see it. I didn't get it. But anyway, the picture is separate from this little clipping. 9 p.m. Return of Sherlock Holmes. Jeremy Brett, Edward Hardwicke, Dennis Quilley, Damien Thomas, The Devil's Foot, dramatised by Gary Hopkins. First of a new series of 4 Sherlock Holmes dramas. Dr. Watson insists that Holmes takes a holiday in a small Cornish cottage, but there is no rest for the detective when a young woman is found dead. Holmes, Jeremy Brett, Dr. Watson, Edward Hardwicke, Mortimer Tregennis, Damien Thomas, Leon Sterndale, Dennis Quilley, Reverend Roundhay, Michael Aitken, Mrs. Porter, Frida Dowie, Brenda Tregennis, Christine Collins, George Tregennis, Peter Shaw, Owen Tregennis, Norman Bowler, Dr. Richards, John Saunders, Police Inspector Frank Rooney, designer Mike Grimes, and executive producer Michael Cox. So that's that. There's a nice colour picture of Jeremy and Edward. Jeremy Brett and Edward Hardwicke. So I'll just straighten that for you. There we go. And that's the little thing underneath. I'll read it to you if you can't read it. Right. Underneath that says The Return of Sherlock Holmes, Jeremy Brett, left with, it's referring in brackets left of the picture, with Dr. Watson, Edward Hardwicke, 9 p.m. That's all I think from this. Oh no, there's more. What's this now? Just briefly show you that if you can. I don't know if you can see it or not. I can't quite work out. And what can I tell with my eyesight? So hold it steady for a sec. Right, okay, I'll read it to you. 9 p.m. Return of Sherlock Holmes, Wisteria Lodge. Rum goings on in Surrey. Holmes quivers and points like an eager, elegant gun dog when he scents a decent mystery in the murder of a host shortly after he has given his guest a barely edible dinner, with Jeremy Brett, Edward Hardwicke, Freddie Jones, Kirkham Markham and Donald Churchill are also in the cast. Now there's a few tiny wee small little clippings here. Let's see what it says on this one for you. Right. These are so minute you might not be able to see them, I'm not sure. Have to freeze the picture, I think, if you're going to stand any chance of reading this. Right. Once again, it's Wisteria Lodge. And Holmes and Watson are called in to investigate the mysterious disappearance of an eccentric collector of old maps. Freddie Jones makes a guest appearance this week as a police inspector who is also working on the case. These are various things, possibly from the Evening Standard or other newspapers. The Daily Telegraph, Wednesday, April 13, 1988. Right, this is about Silver Blaze, this one's a bit sellotaped up, so I don't know if you'll be able to read this at all. I'll read it to you in a sec. And it says, The Return of Sherlock Holmes, Silver Blaze. Holmes is called in when a valuable racehorse is stolen and its trainer murdered. This new series got off to an excellent start last week, well up to the superb standard set by previous series, with a baffling case cleverly unravelled and Jeremy Brett and Edward Hardwicke resuming their roles as Holmes and Watson, as though they had never been away. Peter Barkworth makes a guest appearance this week as the owner of the horse. That's the end of that article. And getting quite close to sellotape here. Let's see what there is underneath. This is about the 2 hour. I'll read this one, but it's barely visible. I can have trouble reading it myself, let alone on the video. Oh, that's steady. It's about the Hound of the Baskervilles. I was never very keen on the 2 hour episodes, and I didn't really like the Hound of the Baskervilles. Nothing wrong with Jeremy, he's always great, but the stories themselves, they overstretched them, and I think every time somebody makes an episode of Hound of the Baskervilles, a version of it, they seem to want to mess about with the story too much. My favourite one would be the Tom Baker version. He was brilliant. Tom Baker was brilliant as Holmes, and I thought the atmosphere was fantastic in that, and reasonably close to the actual story. So this one, let's have a go now. It's, with a 2-hour, I can't read the first bit of this, but I'll read on from here. With a 2-hour film of The Hound of the Baskervilles to be shown later this year, we'll complete 28 hours of Holmes on television and conclude this excellent Granada series. Some of the stories chosen have not always adapted too well to the television treatment, but the all-round quality of production, coupled with the near-definitive portrayals of Holmes and Watson by Jeremy Brett and Edward Hardwicke, have made this a quite outstanding series, and by far the most successful of the numerous TV adaptations. Tonight finds Holmes taking a recuperative rest in Cornwall, where he is soon embroiled in a case involving a woman who appears to have been frightened to death, with Dennis Quilly and Damien Thomas. So it wasn't actually so much about the Hound of the Baskervilles, but it actually mentioned that they were making it, and it was going to be the final of the series, and I can't remember now if that really was the final of the series, but what's this now? The Return of Sherlock Holmes, with another very tiny clipping. Let's see if I can get it to... You might be able to read it, I'm not sure, but I'll read it for you anyway. And The Return of Sherlock Holmes, the Bruce Partington plans. Holmes' brother Mycroft puts in an appearance when the case involves the murder of a clerk at the Woolwich Arsenal, which was an arms factory in Woolwich, is now a museum, and missing plans for a submarine. Charles Gray plays Mycroft, with Dennis Lill, Geoffrey Bayldon, love Geoffrey Bayldon, love Catweasel, wonderful series, Amanda Waring, and Amanda Waring. That's all, and it's followed by the news at 10 as usual. And what's this one? Again, about the Bruce Partington plans. The Bruce Partington plans. I have never seen the Prime Minister so upset. The wretched youth had the plans of the Bruce Partington submarine in his pocket. Charles Gray as Holmes's brother, Mycroft, heads the guest list for this, the last story in Granada's series, with Jeremy Brett to the mannerism born as the great detective. To the mannerism born. Fantastic, isn't it? To the manner born. There we go. That's all the clippings, I think, from this little this BAS E240 chrome oxide extra quality tape. Original recording off air. The first time the series was shown in London. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with some more when I find some more for you.